I've been doing a lot of videos like whether or not lightness and darkness actually affects accuracy, or what the best bedroom is, and stuff like that, and one of the popular requests for that is whether or not turrets take cover. So I have here set up a few different guns at different ranges, a bunch of different types of turrets, a bunch of different types of cover, and we will see if it actually counts or not. Now on paper, if you just target with the weapon and you hover over something, it tells you what the accuracy is, and for the most part this is pretty accurate. I've never really known this to lie much. But you can see here there's no cover there behind the dresser or the sandbags for this. There's no cover for this. No cover for this. IEDs, it doesn't display, but these also don't use cover. But turrets do use cover. And it's interesting here that you've got two different versions of bed stops, and that's because I'm looking at this at an angle. And later on we'll get into this with the wall, because technically a turret can't see around a wall unless you're at an angle. But if you're looking at the turret from an angle, a little bit of the corner of the wall can still stop the bullet. So you can see the bed stops 40%. I think that'd be like this section, and then 8% this section maybe. I'm not really sure which is which. But from this angle, dead on 40%. And turrets can take cover behind turrets, 40%. Chairs also work for cover, 35% though effectiveness, and again IEDs, they don't have an accuracy thing. And colonists cannot be used as cover. But stuff like sandbags can. And again, because I'm looking at this at an angle. So in theory, on paper, turrets can use cover, but I've devised something just to check that again, because I like to be thorough. I have here turrets behind different types of covers, sandbags with 65%, the wall at, I think it's 80% maybe. The chunk 50%, the furniture, this is an end table at 40%, and a turret behind the turret, 40% as well. I have different weapons, all legendary at different ranges, and we'll just look at the stats. This turret is 65%. The wall I won't be able to see. Chunk, 50%. 40%. And 40%. And the wall, if I can get an angle on it. Seriously? There we go. Wall stops 15%. Not a very good test there. It's difficult to get an angle on that. AI is a lot better at that. Sandbags with the assault rifles, 65%. You will notice a trend. 50% behind the chunk. End table, 40%. And the turret, 40%. Sandbags with the pistol, 65%. I think you get the idea. Chunk, 50%. Turret, 40%. Furniture, 40%. So let's equip the shotgun and just show you that these are also the same, I suppose. Some people out there, they're gonna be like, hey, you didn't check this. There we go. It's all the same still. So what I'll do now is we will shoot at each turret, and I will run a timer, and we will see roughly how long it takes to bring them down. There's a lot of RNG involved. I have a slightly better test for this later on, though RNG does overall play a huge factor in this. If there is any sort of a difference though, hopefully running a test multiple times, we'll see some sort of variance enough between the different types of cover that we can sort of deduce something. So, the one behind the sandbags, I will start the timer as soon as the first shot goes. And the turret blew up. Thankfully, it blew up the one behind the wall and none of the other ones. So behind the chunk, which still full health. 50% chance of the granite chunk stopping. And end table, 40% chance of it stopping. And damn it, it blew up the one behind the turret, but that's okay. That was the same amount of cover. So not a really good test because I only ran it once, but next up I've got something that's a little bit better for that. It's a bit hard to test for, but I have here set up a couple turrets behind sandbags. I've also got one for chunks and I've got one for no cover. And I'll let those run a few times just to see. I have here an assortment of attackers with a variety of different weapons and stats and everything, just to sort of simulate attackers going for a turret. And I will start a timer on the very first shot fired from an enemy, and we'll see how long it takes him to take out a turret. I'll also hover over a sandbag so we can kind of watch his health drop a little bit, but because I'm running a timer, I can't really pause the game and everything to make sure I get like a cool screen grab of the sandbags, but I'll do what I can for that. They may or may not actually lose health at a consistent rate because of the angles that the enemies take and everything, but it's another factor to keep in mind, I guess. So what it'll do is I'll load it up and we'll try it again. We'll probably do it 3 or 4 more times, I think, should give it a pretty good average. Converting the times into milliseconds and averaging them together, we get just under 13.5 seconds. And this time, No cover at all. Again, same dudes, same weapons, same stats and everything. And we'll let this run also about 5 times and see how it goes. So with sandbags, it took just under 14.5 seconds. With chunks, it took just over 15.5 seconds. And with nothing, it took just under 15 seconds. So it's not the results you would expect. You'd expect the sandbags to be highest, but again, with so much RNG and stuff like that, 5 tests per really doesn't warrant anything concrete. I'd actually be needing to do this test at least 50 times. I'd say probably closer to 100 though to get something a little more definite. But on the surface, between what's a total of 15 attacks that I've done, there's no major discrepancy. I mean, all of this is within some form of margin of error. So does it really matter? On paper, technically, yeah, the game recognizes it, but does it actually make a difference in the real world? Not hugely. I mean, you may as well throw down the steel to put up some sandbags, or at the very least, just put a stockpile of chunks around the turrets. It doesn't take much effort. You may as well. It could provide some form of defense, maybe, possibly, but in these tests, it doesn't seem to really matter too much.